our parents give us a warranty of 18 years.
Oh,
They have to pay for shit when we get broken.
I'm just going to cancel my insurance, and I'm going to take that money that I would put into insurance into a savings account. You have to spend a lot less money to prevent something than you do to fix something that's preventable.
Yeah. And other countries like give you bonuses for doing that stuff. Does it turn red?
That was fucking loud and clipped like crazy.
Gotta get my golden vocal cords ready to say, welcome to another kitchen sink microscopy. I'm Casey Rochford, the man with the golden vocal cords. And we would love it if you would like and share and subscribe to the channel because, well, sharing is caring and liking is Viking. Liking's cool too. Anyway.
Yeah, liking is Viking, like rape and pillage, that's everybody loves that. Hey, wait a minute. Wasn't the man with the golden voice homeless for like a long time? That's an interesting story.
It was for a short time, I guess. If you count sleeping at Joe's place homeless. But
I mean,
it wasn't my home, so
that's true. I mean, but really, is any of our quote homes really a home? They could be taken away from us. Like you're always paying rent, whether you believe you own or not. You're always paying rent.
I love it when we have a micro episode in the introduction.
Exactly. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. We're still in the intro. Sorry, more beer. So I'm Eric Rosenblatt, and Casey and I, we write our own music. We kind of have like a little bit of a band called ALTAiR. And we've written thousands of songs between the two of us, and well, there's probably going to be a new one that you might not have heard at the end of the episode. So stick around for that, or you can skip to it, whatever the hell you want to do. Hey, anything goes. It's 2022. So, well, at the time of the recording, maybe not when you're watching it. I would hope you'd be watching it later, but yeah. So, our music's out there. There's links and stuff. You can go to ksmvidcast.com and kind of like figure out where to get music if you want it, or help support the channel, or watch some controversial videos or copyright stricken videos that we can't share here on YouTube. It's all there.
I just did a blog on there too, or a post or whatever. It's been a while since I did one of those. So check that out. Give it a read.
Yeah. So, well, Casey, what do you want to talk about today?
Well, so I haven't really brought this up on the show because I don't know for sure what's going on, but I've been having some weird health issues and I'm trying to get it all figured out. And oh my fucking God, the health insurance, the state of our health insurance now is, I mean, it's never really been good, but it is so freaking terrible now. I can't even begin to tell you how messed up it is.
Oh God. Yeah.
I mean, every step of the way, I have to fight them to get something done. And then it takes forever. And I've got to jump through a bunch of stupid hoops and
fill out a bunch of paperwork or something, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, and
it's gotten
faxes.
so bad. It's gotten so
bad
bad that
send faxes.
Oh, faxes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, come on, this day and age.
Mm-hmm. What are we in 1986? Yeah. Yeah. Like it's gotten so bad that even the medical professionals are like, yeah, and they're being a nightmare. Like we hate it too. And it's now gotten to the point where like you have to call your insurance to find out if something's covered, whereas the doctor's office used to do that like all the time. That was like part of their job. And now they're like, yeah, you got to do it now.
Oh God. I
And
mean,
it's like they're fucking assholes.
well, and I guess, as far as I'm aware, like medical facilities are kind of understaffed right now.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons why if you go into, so you go to a doctor's office or hospital for something, right? Whatever it is, if you're paying in cash, it's a significant discount compared to paying with insurance. Like the end price is way lower if you're paying in cash because there's so much red tape and paperwork, and they have like multiple staff members and huge facilities to store records and super expensive computer systems just to like deal with all the rigmarole. It's like, why is it so complicated? Why is it that grocery stores aren't like this? I mean, it's important for your well-being and your overall health to eat. So why is this one thing
right
super difficult, and the other thing you just go in, you could pay with whatever method? In fact, some places are starting to take crypto now. Hey, go to your local grocery store and buy some apples, buy some soup, like no problem. Like you don't have to fill out any paperwork for that shit. Actually, even if you have food aid of some sort, typically you just have like a little debit card and it's like
that's all transactional stuff though. There's not like a skill or diagnostics or record keeping required for I mean there's like some record keeping on your little key fob thing that you get club rewards for or whatever, but like that's its whole other ball of wax. But with hospitals, like they kind of do have to be complicated, but it really shouldn't be, because like if all that stuff was just provided for and all they had to do was focus on getting people well, and people could actually like not have to worry about whether they can afford to get well, then it's simple and cheaper to operate.
Well, I don't know. I mean, that seems like a really kind of like, oh, well, you just do this and the product is that. But I don't think that it's not as simple as that, honestly.
Well, if you take insurance out of the mix, you take away so much complication, like right away.
Maybe. Well, some of it, certain aspects of the complication, yes, but you don't take it all away, and you don't necessarily ensure that you get the best quality of service or that you get service at all. But we should definitely get into that for sure. That's like kind of its own sort of encapsulated topic.
It is, because there's a lot of propaganda around it, like
in both directions too.
Yeah,
and that's important to note. Like you got to be a realist about things. Like there is no utopian answer, whether you're a corporatist or a statist. I guess it all sucks. It's always going to suck. It's kind of when you were talking about that, I was thinking in a lot of ways medicine is almost, or medical processes and services are very similar to auto mechanics. It's a skill. There is no set, it's going to cost this much because it's just this thing. Somebody brings in a car that's not operating correctly, like you can't just be like, it's like it's up on the menu up there. That's how much a cheeseburger is. Because the problems don't equate to cheeseburgers. Like it could be much more complex. You could also start getting in there and realize, oh, wow, they came in for like, some kind of clicking sound over there in the driver's side wheel, but then, oh, their differential's completely shot. It's like about to fall off, or their brake system is like rusted away. Like, and so you never know. Like, it's a very complex thing. So yeah, I mean, I guess I get that there's.
Imagine if car insurance covered car repairs, though, like routine, you know?
Yeah.
Like then that's when you would start seeing the complication. Because like when you do need a car repair because you've been in an accident, insurance is now involved. And going to the mechanic is nowhere near as simple as it used to be.
No, that's true.
In fact, I'm dealing with that right now too. Like just trying to get a teeny tiny dent in my door fixed from someone backing into it. And it's been weeks now, and I still have to climb in from the passenger side if I take the bike. And so,
oh, geez. Yeah,
it's
like I've dealt with the same thing. I've been in many accidents. And like the last one I was in when I had the Volvo 850, this lady rear-ended me at an intersection. And I mean, she admitted fault. She's like, oh yeah, well, I mean, it's pretty clear what happened. Even then, it wasn't super simple. I had to drive the car to her insurance company's facility and sit there reading dumbass magazines. Oh, and this is exactly it. Totally parallels hospitals and doctors' offices. Like they have the worst. Like, okay, I do like boats, but how many yacht magazines do you need? You know, are your clients, you know, or there's highlights magazines, I guess. I would rather read those because they're at least like kind of interesting, but it
kind of tells you something about how much the auto shop is making.
Yeah, or the doctor's office, you know, and but I had to go out of my way. Like, this is not my fault. I had to go out of my way. And you can bet faxing was involved. I had to fucking fax a bunch of shit, you know, sign a bunch of things and fax them. Oh no, you can't email it because that could be compromised. But you know, this 9600 baud old school system from the 60s, like, well, that can't possibly be compromised, you know. So we'll use that instead. I
will say the one thing that's actually pretty seamless is getting a loaner car. Like if one is available, they basically just toss you the keys and that's it. Like, sign a piece of paper and you drive away.
That is true, but then
but that's it. That's the only.
Yeah. But then like dealing with all the other rigmarole that goes behind, like, I had to drive to a facility. There was an insurance adjuster that came and took pictures of stuff, and I had to spend like an hour and a half on the phone with somebody explaining what happened, my side of things. And then, kind of went back and forth, and they sent me paperwork and I signed it, sent it back to them. And they sent me more paperwork and I signed it, sent it back to them. And I went down there and did that thing. And, after it was weeks of this stuff. They finally, they sent me a check too, which then it's like, okay, well, now I have to go to the bank with a check and deposit it. All that. So all these extra steps you got to go through for something. It's like, well, what's the point of insurance at that point? It's like, well, I've lost so much time at work that I could have just taken the money and time that I lost and just paid for it myself. Like,
yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. A lot of times it's, like, what you were just saying got me thinking about car warranties and how they're kind of like a built-in insurance. And then I was kind of thinking, like, our parents give us a warranty of 18 years.
Oh,
they have to pay for shit when we get broken.
Oh yeah, that's that. Which is funny because those early years are the ones where you're least likely to have something really expensive. Well, if you make it past like maybe 2,
well,
then all the other stuff, broken bones is,
like if your kid's a lemon and you got to be in the NICU.
Well, that's true.
That's expensive, that's true, right off the bat.
But once you get older, return the kid.
I'm gonna get canceled for that. Yeah, your kid's a lemon.
as you get older, that's where you need like the more expensive stuff, the more exotic forms of repair.
Also, classic cars nearing the
True.
end of their functional life are really expensive to maintain as well.
Yeah, one of my favorite YouTube channels, Jay Leno's Garage. And I got to give him kudos for restoring and maintaining and telling stories about all these collectible vehicles. But the kind of stuff he has to go through to source a part, sometimes fabricate a replacement part, because, well, that company's been out of business for like 80 years. So good luck finding one of those. And
BMW special tool.
Yeah. And bring it, but he brings it back to life. And yeah, you're right. Like, I think there's actually a lot of parallels there, in that regard.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things that I this may sound absurd, to a lot of people, but I'm probably 95% certain that come open enrollment at my company, I think it's October, I'm just going to cancel my medical insurance. Just fucking cancel it, because people I've talked to who have used it, I haven't used it, but everybody has kind of the same story. Like, oh, well, they really don't cover anything. And there's a bunch of, well, and the paperwork, obviously, all that stuff, but it doesn't really cover much, unless you hit certain thresholds and stuff. And I'm like, you know what?
Yeah,
that is ridiculous. I'm just going to cancel my insurance, and I'm going to take that money that I would put into insurance into a savings account, to cover future things. And, if there's something big, well, most of the time they'll do the thing, right? Like if you're, I don't know, if you get shot or hit by a car and you go to the ER and you need work, they'll do the work and fix you up to the best of their ability. And then they'll just bill you. And if you don't have the money, well, you could do a payment plan. And I'm thinking, well, kind of running the numbers, a payment plan for some kind of big thing is kind of almost the same as paying for insurance. And how many big things do you really have in your life? Yeah. So, and I'm thinking I'll probably, this is actually something I wish was more prevalent in this country. It actually used to be before government got involved in the insurance industry and medicine and stuff. There's a thing called direct primary care. So you basically pick a clinic or a system. There could be a network of various companies, but usually it's like one place, and you pay a fairly small monthly charge. And from what I've seen, in this area, I've kind of looked it up, and it's like, oh, well, that's like a quarter of what I'm paying right now for insurance, and they have like unlimited services. Like you don't get billed for anything. You just pay a fee. If you have a problem, you go there, they fix it. They never charge you anything additional. They may have limited resources, as far as it just depends on where you are. But
wait, when did we start talking about European countries' form of medical care? I mean, that's basically what it is, right?
Well,
like,
yeah,
you pay a little bit, and then when you need it, it's paid for, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends on your definition of a little bit, because a lot of those places, like the Nordic system, it's very high taxes, very high. People in the US would be like, whoa, that's expensive. But
like 40% or something.
It's a pretty big chunk, and everybody pays it. Like, so if you make money, you pay it.
But on the flip side of that, it's like, well, you're paying how much out of your paycheck for medical insurance at most places? Like, the outliers that just pay it all,
the government is the outlier usually.
I've had a couple jobs where nothing came out of my paycheck, but
nice. It is pretty uncommon though.
Yeah. And I always automatically like that employer more. It's like, okay, you are not so greedy.
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, as far as like, if you're an employee, you kind of feel like, oh, you matter because they're willing to take care of that cost.
Yeah, like that goes a huge way with me. And like, I don't know. I'd be interested to see a study in like people who have jobs where their medical is provided and it's 100% covered, and it's probably actually pretty decent too, like not one of the shitty coverages. And compare them to like the people that are like 80-20 or whatever the standard is, and see what their general overall health is. I would bet money, a lot of money that I don't even have, I'd put it on credit, that that you would find healthier people with the free healthcare.
Well, yeah, and
free in quotes. I mean, like,
yeah,
for it somehow.
It's covered by the company or whatever. And there's a lot. This is a very complex topic because health in general, it sort of has a lot of angles. You have your genetics, your predispositions, the way the environment you're raised in, that kind of thing. Those sort of things kind of mold you, and then you also have what you have access to. Preventative care is pretty important, I think. In fact, you have to spend a lot less money to prevent something than you do to fix something that's preventable.
Yeah. And other countries like give you bonuses for doing that stuff. Basically, like saying, here's your reward for getting your oil changed.
Sure.
To go back to the car comparison.
Yeah, exactly. And there's also general overall healthy lifestyle, getting your exercise, your sunlight, your good food. I would argue that a healthy environment goes much further than any form of medical coverage for most people. Obviously there's going to be there'll be exceptions.
It's I'll say this, it is definitely a good thing. It's a maintenance thing, not an acute treatment kind of thing. You can't be like, oh shit, I just found out I have stage 4 cancer, I'm just only going to eat grapes. And
no like, well, and you could abstain from cigarettes for your whole life and still end up with lung cancer. That happens more often than I think people realize. But there's something to be said for that side of things, like maintaining a moderately healthy lifestyle. Like, well, and flipping this over to cars, it'd be like, well, if you sit here, you buy yourself some kind of Mustang or something, right? And when you're driving it, you're just redlining it all day long, just hard shifting and just driving it hard all the time. And then the engine, like the rods snap or the piston comes out the side of the engine, your transmission blows up. Well,
who pissed on the side of the engine?
Well, yeah. My point is, driving that car hard is what made it not last as long, and it's a very expensive fix when you do that. So if you take care of it, maybe open it up every once in a while. That's actually good for the soul to do that. But
are we talking about the car or the human?
It's a both in this case. But you can't, being careful and I guess the operation, like how you operate a thing, be it yourself or some machine, dictates how long it's going to last. And when you sit in that Mustang and you just run it like full bore, open throttle all day long, well, the problems that are going to come are going to be expensive. Like it's not meant to do that. Changing out an engine or a transmission is expensive, but a basic oil change, that should be all you really need. a little checkup here and there, a little maintenance, new tires, that kind of thing. So I guess I see the overall sort of what constitutes health as being multifaceted. There's a lot of
there's
things.
gray areas about like how much of one thing is contributing to, your actual survival,
Yeah.
like, oh, your back is a little sore. Well, you're not dying,
Mhm.
like if you wanted to like get that like nitpicky about it and just be like, well, we're only going to cover things that are like a threat to your life, like immediately.
Mhm.
Well, it's like, yeah, that where do you end up drawing the line in
Well,
the sand on what is health and what's not?
Well, yeah, and like what you said, if all that was covered were critical things, well, then you're only covering the very most expensive things that could have been prevented if when somebody said, hey, my back hurts, and they go to the doctor and it turns out they have some kind of heart condition, and that's reflected through that or whatever the symptoms are. Like, it might be a simple solution early on. Maybe a dietary change, maybe some kind of medication you have to take, therapeutic processes or something. But almost everything that becomes catastrophic later could be prevented with super cheap and super simple solutions. So maybe having like at least a basic access to basic medical assistance of some sort would be beneficial. Somebody's paying for it, and the thing is, like, I don't know the numbers on how many people default on their owed medical expenses, but I'm gonna guess it's probably quite a bit given how expensive it is.
Yeah.
So
well, yeah,
it's
to
like,
go back to the focus on insurance is like, yeah, there's still stuff that insurance is just like, nope, you gotta pay for that. So it's like you're paying like 4 times out of your paycheck, at the copay, at the co-insurance, and then like whatever insurance is like, not, you're stuck with that one, buddy. Like, well, you're shelling out a lot of money to stay healthy.
You're also paying for all the people who don't pay too.
Yep. Yeah,
because they're having to compensate for resource expenditures, so the prices go up.
Yeah. See, this is the one place I think we align on, like, where regulation is just a fucking bane to the existence of everything it touches.
Yes, definitely.
And that's all insurance is, really. It's just regulation. It's not regulation from a government. It's a private company that basically sold us on the idea that this is a thing that we need so badly that it becomes a law.
Yeah. Well, and it used to be. Oh, sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. So go ahead.
That's okay. I beer. Forgot.
Oh yeah. Well, it used to be that the average person could afford to pay for a doctor to come to their own house. Like, you don't have to go to them, but like normal people, not rich people, just average, everyday working class people could pay for a doctor to visit their house.
People still alive today can remember this.
Yes. and a lot of it has to do with regulations. And maybe there's an argument to be made that safety is a factor for sure. We should be concerned with that. But who's controlling this? Centrally controlled systems have some serious flaws.
Well, that might be a good point for me to tell you something I thought of earlier, and I had to write it down. I discovered there's a law that if you have insurance, you have to use it. What? You can't just be like, oh, I would like to pay with my insurance today, please. If you wanted to get that cash discount, you actually have to physically never have had the insurance to begin with when you walked in there.
Are you fucking kidding me? So if you have like a broken arm, and just need a cast and a little bit of work that normally would be dirt cheap, you have to use the insurance?
Yeah, they they're like Hippocratic oath. No, we
Mhm.
can't treat you until you agree to have it go through insurance.
Oh my God. Well, and this is the whole corporatocratic system that, like, this is the problem I have with central authoritative systems where, well, essentially it's like corporations in bed with governments, and then they're like promising you
And
all
then they're
this stuff.
profiting off our health,
Yeah,
fuckers.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, and then they're telling us like, oh, if you don't do this, allow more regulations and more laws to be enacted and more control to be placed. Well, oh, you're in danger. Your health is in danger, and it's like, fuck if it is. I think actually my health is in danger if you have your way, asshole.
Yeah.
Like, uh, I I have the utmost respect for people that, okay, I don't like going to hospitals. They kind of skeeve me out, but I have a lot of respect for medical professionals, doctors, nurses, surgeons, everybody. Like, they do some amazing work.
Yeah.
Someday I'll probably need their help. Um,
Hope not.
yeah, hopefully not.
Seriously, like going through this system worse than any, like physical pain you're likely to be in.
Well, and think about this too. Imagine if it was something like really detrimental, something really scary like cancer. You say the C word and everybody's like, oh shit. So
Yeah.
you're already on edge. You're like, oh my God, or some other disease, some deadly disease, or you got Alzheimer's or AIDS or something like that. Well, AIDS isn't a thing anymore. But if you have Alzheimer's or Parkinson's disease or something, the implications. And then it's not really, well, and then it's like, oh, well, sit down and fill out in triplicate these 1,000 pages of paperwork, and we'll go like sit here and do these interviews and all this stuff, and then we'll think about it. I mean, think of the stress that places on somebody in an already stressful situation. Like, you're already not in a happy place, and now you have to deal with all this red tape and government mumbo jumbo. Like, oh, I don't know which is worse. Honestly, I would rather just like deal with the cancer than with all that paperwork.
Well, having been through cancer twice in a row, like, which, it was pretty bad for the finances. But mainly just because my private insurance and, because of, when you have cancer, that, the state basically says, okay, you're not that broke, but you have cancer. So now you're allowed to be this, not that broke before we say you're not that.
It's not like you can work through chemo that easily. So
I've got my private insurance. I've got my Medicaid, or at some point it became Medicare, and it complicated. Anyway, for this story, I had two insurances basically.
Yeah.
And I still had $250,000 of medical debt on my shoulders.
Fucking A.
So yeah, I went bankrupt, like, because I don't think to this day I've made enough to cover $250,000.
No, I'll have to do the numbers and like how much I've made in my lifetime, but
so it's like, oh, well, I'll have my credit ruined for 10 years, or I'll be paying this for 20.
Can I just say right now that I love St. Jude's.
Yeah.
I have donated to them many times. Well,
I think they're Memphis.
Oh yeah. I
was Memphis once.
Yeah. So they treat kids generally, and you never have to pay for anything. They just help you out. And it's all donation based, which I think is a better way than tax based and central authority.
Are they 100%?
I think
I
mostly
find that hard to believe, just because I've driven by there. It's a full on hospital, like a
Mhm.
big place. Like, these are not, take away what they're doing. That building alone is really expensive to operate.
Yeah, but now keep in mind, it's not people like you and I that are the only ones donating. There are people like Elon Musk who donate too. So people with big money. But regardless, I think what they do is a great thing, and everybody should support that. We need a St. Jude's for everybody, essentially.
Yeah. Well, why are panhandlers usually hanging around the lower economic, geographies, let's say? Because if the people with the big bucks are more inclined to give to charity, then you would think that supply and demand would create this kind of like tide that goes towards those people. But instead, they're down in the like middle class areas, right?
Yeah, and maybe that has to do. Now things are changing, for in a good way. I think it has to do with enforcement. If you see a panhandler in the north end of Tacoma, right? Well, not if you or I like, I don't care. Whatever, knock yourself out. Whatever, doesn't hurt me. But a lot of people sort of in the upper echelons of finances in those areas, they tend to be a little bit more vocal about people, miscreants or people they don't like, and also the enforcement
Allard.
system. Yeah. Yeah.
Get these homeless RVs out of here. It's ugly.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking yeah.
Yeah. But the enforcement systems also tend to be a little bit more eager to remove that. So you go downtown and like nobody cares. Like, what? It's not really an issue. So you're right, though. The best places to panhandle would be in upper income areas. I kind of honestly have a little bit of a problem, and I don't quite know exactly why this exists. It might have something to do with zoning, but why is there like an upper income area in a city and a lower income area in the city? The other side of the tracks. Like, why?
It is weird how that congeals, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, what? Why aren't there people? Why don't you have a millionaire living next to somebody who's living in poverty?
Yeah, and that's the weird thing, right? Like, we've not only got the money dichotomy, but we've got this class of people that thinks it's okay to like cast a haze over certain other people and say that particular quality is so despicable that I can't even look at it. Get it out of here.
Yeah.
Get it out of here.
Yeah.
And they're all hoity-toity and uppity about it.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is like, these are human beings. When the aliens invade, they're not going to discriminate about people's wallets. They're not going to be like, "Oh, you're a millionaire." They're going to be like, and you're just zapped. Like, it doesn't matter. Homeless person, zapped. Like,
I think Star Trek has probably touched on this problem too. The problem of like classism.
Mm-hmm.
And how you form this opinion and then it gets like hyper focused by an echo chamber and you're just shooting daggers at each other all the time.
Oh yeah.
Why? Like, for what reason?
I know. Like,
and that probably kind of makes them angsty to each other and hate each other more.
which is counterproductive.
Yeah.
And back in the day, there were people, philosophers like Diogenes, the homeless guy, who was at the time seen as like the greatest philosopher of his time. And he kind of like, he was homeless, but people came from all around the world to hear what he had to say. And I think that says a lot. Like, it doesn't matter your station in life. It doesn't matter the resources you have.
He went viral.
Yeah, but it's here. It's between your ears. It's your mind. That's what matters. And that's all we should really care about. Like, oh man, I know this feels like a bit of a divergence, but I think it's all related.
Yeah, it is, man.
Well, because it comes down to caring about people and taking care of people. And like, if you have the means, help people out. Like,
So, okay, so like, why can't people just look at tax as like some charity? You're just helping people out. Yeah,
well,
I get that it sucks that you don't get to like pick and choose and be nitpicky about every which way that your dollar goes and all that shit. But like, to think that like the alternative is that you just have 100% of your check and you get to keep and hang on to is an entitlement. You're like, oh, I shouldn't have to contribute anything to exist next to these other people.
well,
But I'm totally going to reap the benefits.
well, you brought up some quite a few interesting thoughts there. Might need more beer there for that. So,
I mean, really, it's no different than charity.
So, no, it is different because it's coercive. It's exploitative. I guess it's by force.
But if you don't have
it.
that, I think you're overestimating the generosity of most people, especially when you flip it on its back and see how many people hate paying tax. It's like they want more for them.
Of course.
So if you don't wrangle that in and say like, hey, if we all want to exist, we all got to chip in this bare amount and we can just exist together.
Well, fixing
and then there's people resistant to that who would just rather float off into space with no atmosphere and just choke to death.
I think that's a pretty extreme example, but I think fixing the monetary system to begin with would be helpful. The problem with tax being used as a charity is that it's a centrally controlled system. And I mean, we may disagree on this, the implications of centrally controlled systems, but in my experience and in my observation, those are shit. Essentially, they don't work. They end up creating the very thing they're intended to solve.
Why is that? You think it's because you don't get to control how your money is used?
No, it's because it is a very small subsect of the population that decides where that money goes, and they're not wise. They're not free. And it isn't a democratic system. Like a democratic system is charities that you voluntarily give to. Like when I go and I buy a pizza from Domino's, they always show me the cancer kids, the like St. Jude's, right? I see it and I'm like, oh, okay, all right, I'll give a few bucks. I can, okay, because I can just feel, I can feel that, and I have to give. But when somebody is like, I mean, ultimately pointing a gun at me and saying like, give or else, like
how's that any different from them like hitting you in the emotional nuts every time?
What
that private corporation is democratically like swaying you with emotion and
because I do.
give money to somebody that you maybe would not.
Well, they're not making me. I ultimately have a choice. Like I can be like, oh well, I don't have enough money.
Yeah, but
maybe I've given enough for now. Like $2,000 in a year might be enough. I think I should stop there. But if they're like, oh, that's not enough, you got to give more because, well, there's other people that need help. Like, and mismanagement happens very frequently when you have centrally controlled systems too.
But tell me how much of your time do you value your time is basically what I'm asking.
Above everything, above money.
So imagine if you had to divvy up all these charities that you need to contribute to if you want to have a way of life that is, comfortable and convenient.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I got to give some charity to the people that do the roads. I got to give charity to the people that do power, sewer, water, the telephone lines. Oh, geez. Like, how much fucking time is it going to take to, like, pay bills and tithe to the community? If you make it so that you have enough money for all of these things that you depend on, holy shit, I think I'm making an argument for we would have never evolved this far if there weren't like obligatory tax.
You could be. Now I would.
Interesting.
I will continually go back to this idea that the very first thing we have to do is fix the monetary system. This is where
maybe tax is how we evolve. We should tax everybody. Tax everything.
Oh God.
Nothing is yours anymore.
You will have nothing and be happy, right? Great reason.
You have 10 seconds to comply.
Oh no, Kenny. Oh no, poor guy. Well, I think we should fix the monetary system first because that is kind of the core behind a lot of the faults. And eventually I'm going to do a minute microscopy about this once I'm able to wrap my head around all the different angles because I started it and it was like
something tells me that's going to be way more than a minute now.
Yes, it will. But basically how all your problems, all the big problems in life can be traced back to governments or authoritative systems, whatever they may be. Back in the day, it was religions. Now it's governments. I kind of see the two as indistinguishable. So I don't know. Damn.
It's interesting how insurance went to religion.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is what makes this show so fucking amazing. Like we can connect things that nobody else has thought to connect. And it does connect.
Someday like kids are gonna like smoke weed and watch kitchen sink microscopy and be like, whoa, they just like connected the fabric of the universe, man.
It'll be like what is it? The Wizard of Oz with Pink Floyd or something,
Yep.
Yeah. Well, ultimately I think my angle on things is like, okay, we all know we can all agree there are problems out there. I think everybody can, whatever your persuasion. It's a matter of like, what methods do we employ to solve those problems or address those problems? And I try to cast off all of the religious and tradition-based thinking and political thinking. Like, okay, get down to the heart of things and like, okay, I want a real solution, a solution that doesn't require maintenance, which if you look at things, most solutions that people propose require maintenance. It's like, oh yeah, you have to keep voting to sustain this system, and you have to keep voting the correct way to sustain those systems. You have to keep paying taxes to sustain it. The right people have to be in office or something, or in those positions.
Our bodies require maintenance. We started this episode talking about how things would be so much better if people had the access to just do maintenance on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like everything needs maintenance. You will never find anything that doesn't need maintenance to keep working.
Well, yeah, because entropy. That's the thing.
So
it's like,
and
you're always fighting that.
And if there's an action that something has to perform, it's going to want compensation for that. It's always going to be tied to your economy.
Well, there's a resource expenditure for everything.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't always have to be economical. And
no, it shouldn't have to be. But.
No, it shouldn't. And my point is like, well, why don't we start by fixing the economical side by getting the government out of it?
Right.
Governments and corporations should not be able to touch our currency. This is our store of our life. Like, why would we allow a bunch of faceless well, they have names, but people who don't know you to dictate how that system works? That's ridiculous. It's like, what?
Here's a little bit of anarchism. So when you go to a restaurant and a server is like, oh, that steak was shit, wasn't it? We're paying for that. Like they make a judgment call and they take shit off your bill,
mm-hmm.
And that's fine. That's totally fine. You know why? Because like you feel good, you got helped out, like they contributed a little bit of loss to compensate for your little bit of loss.
Yeah.
And you give them a good fucking review. But like, I don't know. I think I forgot where I was going with that.
No, I know where you're going with that. That is a really brilliant idea.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, why don't nurses and shit just be like, yeah, I'm not going to charge you to launder the curtains in the room for $100. I'm just going to take that off the bill.
Yeah.
But like, I guarantee there's probably no regulation where they could get in so much trouble for that because you might die if the curtains aren't laundered properly,
or your pillowcases aren't changed or something like that. Didn't
like write shit off, make judgment calls.
Please. I completely agree. Like, when you were going through cancer treatment, didn't you have to pay like $200 a day for pillows?
Yeah,
there was something like that.
It was like $800 a day for curtains or something. I think the pillow I had to hold to my chest, so my chest wouldn't pop open if I sneezed, was like $1,000 pillow. I shit you not, $1,000 heart-shaped pillow this big.
Oh my god,
$1,000. I don't even think I have it anymore. Shit,
did it?
I could have eBayed that.
Did that pillow suck your dick? If I paid,
well, we don't need to get into details about what I do in my spare time.
Oh man, you brought up some really good points, and I talking about the pillow, I kind of lost my train of thought there.
Why can't we just like, out of the kindness of our hearts, write shit off if people are having a bad time? Oh my god, my child has like horrible cancer and stuff, and you're like, yeah, that'll be $869 for saying that while you were standing on that tile right there. That tile has a fee of, like, for fuck's sake, like, cut people a deal.
Yeah, well, and things shouldn't be as costly as they are, and I guess, and this is something I've kind of loosely started digging into. is finding out why things are the way they are. Ask yourself, well, why does it cost that much? Without any bias. Don't come with preconceived notions about how things are. Just ask a question and seek answers. Just be ready for those answers to completely destroy the way that you see things, which is okay.
Yeah.
It's like ego death. Let's stay away from LSD discussions. But I mean, it might be important. Maybe most modern countries need a little bit of ego death.
Yeah.
It'd
Really,
go a long way to helping people. Because ultimately that's
that's why we need humbling moments.
Mhm.
Like it, as tragic and sad as it is, and it seems unnecessary, but like if we don't have these tragedies, we don't really have that moral reset button where we're like, wait a minute, everything we thought was right might not be right anymore.
Yeah.
So you kind of need that yin yang thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think I fully understand that now. In order to kind of like reset things when they start going too far in one direction.
Yeah.
Because just physics, like anything that has bounds to it can only go so far before it needs to bounce back.
Well, and there are opposing forces constantly working together and apart or against each other, I guess. And that is life.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, yes, we have done remarkable things. Created it wow, if our ancestors could see where we are today, I think they'd be amazed. Even though, as a trends watcher kind of person, I kind of look at things and I'm like, things really seem very similar to like hundreds of years ago. Although then again, hundreds of years is flash in the pan. It's like we've been here for hundreds of thousands of years.
I just got thinking about like the evolution of tech.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this thought that like some of the sacrifices we make are in the name of like progress. Well, what would you rather have from the 1960s to now? Would you rather have a planet that has gone to the moon and beyond, or a planet where people are healthy and happy, but we don't have that much technological progress?
Well, I guess it depends on the rest of like what surrounds it. Because
let's say that's like what's most valuable to you are those two aspects.
And actually, no, you're spot on here. It does come down to what is personally valuable, like what you value as a person and care about. And people care about different things. I think that going to the moon, the space program, the ISS, the Chinese ISS, which I keep forgetting the name of,
the James Webb telescope,
yeah, or Hubbable. That like it that like we have made remarkable strides, and in the event that we face some kind of Independence Day style seemingly insurmountable foe bent on taking us over. Now, although that is a little bit, most of those stories are very human centric because they sort of are built on imperialism. That, well, if aliens came here, well, obviously they're going to want to conquer us, right?
Right.
Because that's what we do. we, as humans, we go places and we take them over.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't some other species do the same? Well, maybe not. Like, I don't think that is the normal state. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, like most countries in the world look at America and be like, hey, colonialism doesn't have to happen. Like, we're all
I was
here,
talking
we all
about
exist.
the human race. Like, humans in general tend to be colonialists, and very territorial.
Yeah, and xenophobia could be seen as kind of a colonialism.
Yeah. And over thousands of years, humans are just like that. And the US, fuck it, I kind of a old hat kind of thing. Like, I don't think
I feel like we're going into the abyss of philosophy. Like, we're getting so far down, our minds might never escape from this like enlightened area.
Should we stare into the abyss? What if it stares back?
Stare into the kitchen sink.
If you look into your kitchen sink and eyes like open up, yeah, run.
We should look at an actual kitchen sink under a microscope for like the season 5 intro.
Oh, that would be cool. Oh, hell yeah. So assuming as I do that most beings are good, I would imagine that if you're advanced enough, given the space between everything, if you're advanced enough to get here, well, you're probably not petty, probably not stupid, give or take a few anomalous possibilities. So chances are you're not going to be imperialistic and like want the war of the worlds, like, oh, take over Earth and zap everybody and stuff. I mean, it makes for a nice story, but that's not realistic. I would say, I mean, I do like technology, but I think if we were a little bit more primitive and we're able to focus on our own biology and honing that to a finer extent, that would actually be better. To answer your question from 10 minutes ago or something.
Well, and I like how you took it that way, because like it just shows that we could answer the same question for two completely different reasons.
Yeah.
Like my reasoning would just be like, based on my experience, having been through cancer twice, I know damn well before that, I had no concept of how fucking horrible that could be.
Yeah.
Have to go through that. And having been through that and having the altruistic need to see that other people don't have to go through that just like becomes your primary value.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, there is so much pain and suffering in the world. I want to do anything that could have prevented me from getting here.
Okay. Please don't make me cry. But
no, like I think people need to hear that, because like there is so much altruism and so much self-healing and just being generous and as unselfish as possible.
That being generous is a greater reward than all the money you could acquire in the world, all the wealth, all the material possessions you could acquire.
That's why I'm saying, like, why does it matter if it's obligatory or not? If you're helping somebody, shouldn't that be all that matters?
Well, if it's obligatory, like, doesn't matter.
You don't need to like have the ego boost of being like, I chose what good I did today. Like just knowing that you did good should feel good.
Well, that's assuming that those systems actually have an intent on doing good, but they don't. There's probably
But people want to save themselves. Nobody wants a
true.
system that is rotting and complete shit, because it'll impact them negatively too.
So why would you want a system that obligates you to contribute to it, to do its bidding?
Because that's just kind of how nature operates toward the majority. You know, like,
it shouldn't have to.
Most of the gravitational dip is over here, and so we're just gravitating there.
Well, but I don't like the idea of being compelled to contribute to a system that I know is ineffectual and flaccid and incapable of doing most of what it claims it can do. Like, or it's either incapable or doesn't care about doing the things that it claims, but it does it because that's a nice sales tactic to get you to comply and to participate. Like, break out of your shell, motherfuckers.
Is our entire consciousness just some elaborate propaganda scheme?
Okay.
Holy shit.
Don't ask that question.
Wow.
But it's an important question to ask. Like, ask yourself. Like, we should all be asking ourselves. I think if you get enough people together with a common goal, that we can accomplish almost anything. But for that common goal on paper to be transliterated to a monolithic system, I don't think it's capable of accomplishing those things. And all you have to do is, you don't have to look at what people are saying. You have to look at the results. What has actually been accomplished? How long have governments across the planet been talking about solving problems? Centuries? Decades? Talking about the same shit? Whoa, you vote for me, I'm going to solve this. You side with this team or this camp, this tribe, like, oh, well, all your problems are going to be solved. No, they won't be, because they haven't been.
I think that was born out of good intent. I think that was born out of people being like,
of course,
I'm confident I can make this change.
I'm going to make.
Yeah,
of course it is. Yes. And individually, politicians, I think they're okay people. But
they might actually want to have some better world in their brain. Yeah.
Yes, they do. They all do. They all have this vision. But can you realize that vision? Is the system capable of supporting such a realization? No. Like, obviously, no. We can't have a system like that if we play by these rules. Oh God, more beer. But
all politicians are people except for Mitch McConnell, who's like a robot teenage ninja mutant turtle.
Oh yes, I saw a meme about Mitch McConnell that was the Spanish, oh geez, that movie with the hands for eyes. And the meme said, I'm going to tell my kids this is Mitch McConnell, and like, actually it kind of looks.
Was that the hands of Manos, which if you translate Manos is the hands of hands?
No, it was Pan's Labyrinth. That's right.
Oh.
It was a clip or a screenshot from Pan's Labyrinth. That's great movie. If you've never seen it, really good. I
have actually.
Oh my God.
Like every time I went to look up Labyrinth, that's what would come up. But
back
in the days when you would like order Netflix through the mail, It's like labyrinth. And they're like, did you mean Pan's Labyrinth? You know, like 3 days later. No, I did not mean Pan's Labyrinth. 3 days later, they're like, oh, did you mean Labyrinth, the song by The Cure?
Yeah.
No, I did not.
But both are really good movies. I mean, David Bowie
Oh, fuck yeah.
was a god among men. Holy shit.
The most avant-garde rocker ever.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
There's a story about him hanging out in Texas and being accosted for being gay. No, wearing women's clothing or something like that.
I have a fridge magnet of him being like, you know, like his mugshot for like possessing marijuana. He's been arrested for so much shit. That's just like, wait a minute, that's just like what humans want.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, let's put this out there. I don't want to. Well, okay. Caveat. We don't at KSM support breaking the law, but yeah, go out there and get arrested for shit. Breaking the law. Like, you know, well, and don't do anything that aggresses against anybody or transgresses against their person. But you know, these bullshit ass laws like prostitution and drug use and stuff, you know, fucking smoke a joint, fuck a prostitute, do it. You know, like go out there and do it. We need to all do it until these laws don't matter anymore. And, and if you get called in for jury duty, remember there's an episode that we did on jury nullification. Like, yes, you can overnight fix that. That won't be a thing anymore. Just don't say it. That could cause some problems. But you know, this is the thing. I believe in community involvement. I believe we're all, I mean, ultimately, we're all kind of on this spaceship together, this dust ball floating around in space and dangerous place together. So we should be thinking about that. But, you know, talk to your neighbors. Like we're all a community. And we should be building community-based systems, not huge DC monolithic fucking giant corporate structures like of government. Like, no. How do you think that's going to? What do you think is going to?
This is a good like advertisement for social media, like getting the word out about shit that needs support.
Mm-hmm.
That is facilitated by your Facebook feed, your tweets, your TikToks. That's how we're getting information like right now. You can talk all the shit you want about it, but like when you had to rely on like the 7 o'clock news, you didn't know what was happening until everybody else did at 7 o'clock. And now it's just like right in your face.
Well, and the 7 o'clock news was kind of telling you a corporate structured narrative. Mm-hmm. It was telling you a story based on what that big, huge company was interested in.
A homogenous big picture of what actually happened.
Yeah. And this is where TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and
ksmvidcast.com
and Twitter and stuff comes in. Like, you can actually see for yourself the reality of a thing. Like, it's not filtered. Well, it could be, because those systems are still corporate and they still do have filters. But you can kind of slip through there. And there's a reason why it's filtered, because if we had unfiltered news, about what is actually going on in the world and unfettered access to communication with everybody on the planet, well, we'd be able to organize and like actually solve problems. Like we wouldn't be dependent on any corporatocratic authoritative system to dictate to us, to tell us what's wrong and tell us the best solution and say, well, you know, we got to do this. No, we just figured out for ourselves. Like communities would get together and they'd solve problems. Like, hey, oh, you know, you need a door that needs repair. Like, whoa, well, we'll just like rally everybody that knows about doors. You got
okay. Let's take that and get scientific with it.
Okay. Yes, please.
Let's put it out to whoever's still watching at this point in the episode. Like, let this be your donation. Let's say we need like $200 a month donors at patreon.com in order to like make this twice a week, you know, channel where you could see a new episode twice a week. Like that's how much we need. Go donate that. Yeah. And if it's willed to be, it will be.
Yeah, and I'm on board with that. Although I'd rather
I hope I allotted us enough to survive. That was just totally off the
Well, you know, if it was like 1932, $200 a month would probably be pretty substantial.
Well, I mean, like hopefully more than one person.
Yeah. but inflation, and that's where the whole central control thing comes in. I would rather people spend their efforts and energies. Yes, it'd be nice to make enough money to not have to work doing this, but I'd also like to see problems be solved.
Well, I've been thinking about this lately. Like, if I had more time to work on the show, I would feel more enriched.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I would feel like I was making more of a difference.
And I think the viewers would feel that way too. Like
I hope so.
We're not like a bullshit channel just telling you like the top 10 stupidest tools you could buy.
With
like
camera cuts every fucking 0.3 seconds.
Yeah. Like we give you the straight shit. It's coming to you. Well, not necessarily live, but sometimes. Yeah, like there are legit problems that need some solving. And I don't think any of the self-proclaimed solving systems have solutions. Oh, but they're more than inclined to tell you that they do. Just like a used car salesman. Like, oh, well, this car is the best car ever. Oh, you should totally spend $6,000 on, you know, like a 1987 Toyota Corolla.
You could fit 2,340 pages of propaganda in this baby.
Oh man. Okay, that is perfect. It being so late in the episode, I don't think I'm gonna remember to put that at the beginning. That's the punchline right there, man. Oh. Well, and I think we're only two people. We don't necessarily have all the answers. The only way we're going to get the answers is for everybody to come together and to come up with our own solutions. Like, hey, you know, whoever you are, whatever your color or creed or whatever, we can recognize there's kind of common human challenges, and solving those is a worthy cause. Oh man,
Damn. I don't know how it is, but like I'm pretty sure like 99% of our episodes this season have gotten super meta.
They have. Oh man. Imagine if world leaders were forced to watch KSM episodes.
We become like a class at Harvard.
Yeah.
Watch and write book reports on 23 episodes of kitchen sink microscopy.
Roll your R's.
I rolled my M's too. Holy shit. It takes beer to speak that language.
Yeah, that's
rolling M.
That's next level. Oh man. Oh, wow, that. Oh geez. This has been a pretty good episode.
From insurance all the way there. Like, well, insurance on like the medical industry in general,
Well, and
I mean, the bottom line is everybody wants everybody else to feel as healthy as they feel, right? Like, why not?
Yeah.
What harm is there in that?
There isn't any. It's just a matter of the methodology. And oh man. Whew.
It's like when we focus on the cause and the medical industry and insurance, they don't focus on the cause. They just care about this symptom. Well, that symptom might mean that it's caused by something else, so we won't cover it. Blah, blah, blah. Insurance gets in the way of fucking morality.
Well, and now this is a little bit anecdotal. I don't know if this is actually true, but a friend of mine told me that in the olden days, the Chinese medical system was based around the concept of like, you only were able to charge the customer if you made them well.
I think I told you that.
Was that you?
Yeah. Because, and I heard that from my dad, so I don't know how true it is. But I mean, you know what? Like, who cares how true it is?
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
It really is. Yeah. Like, if you solve a problem, well, what actually, it's interesting. You and I ran a business, printer repair business, and we would never charge a customer until we fixed things. So if we went out there and did a bunch of work and weren't able to, it did cost us a bit. But
we even had a tiny little fee for like a non-economical repair.
Yeah.
An NER, where we basically say, like, we'll go out there and we'll diagnose it. And if it's obsolete, we'll just tell you. And that's, $25.
Yeah. I think it was $25.
Yeah.
Which is totally affordable.
Like, who does that?
Yeah. Nobody. And this is the thing. You have to stand by your principles. You have to live by your principles at all costs.
Instead of just saying it's free, we're like, hey, I mean, like, we spent some money to come out here and give you our professional opinion. Mm-hmm. So you maybe kick us a little bit, but we're not going to charge you the full amount.
Yeah.
And that was cool,
Yeah. Well, maybe we're rare in the world at large in that we're willing to act according to principle. Like, hey, this is a sound principle. This is the fair thing to do. It'd be nice to make money, but it's also important to take care of people too. So how do you balance that?
Yeah.
Like, I want everybody to have access to.
Younger Casey might have been more worried about the bottom line, but that's why he's bald now. So just take that lesson.
Yeah. Or don't.
If you like your hair, chill, motherfucker.
Yeah. Oh man. Wow, this went down a lot of paths.
It's interesting. Like insurance leading all the way down to like the fundamental need to want to help others.
Yeah.
So that they may help you when you need it.
Yeah, pay it forward, right?
You know, like the more generosity you give, the more you get. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts, right? The more generosity you're putting out there, the more you're likely to receive some back, you know?
Well, and they call that a synergistic effect.
Yeah.
And yes, it is absolutely a fact.
I did my entire undergraduate research on that fucking word and I didn't think of it.
It's okay. Like we work together, right? Like, oh.
And we do. Like this kind of chemistry is exactly what the world needs to be striving to create.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we can go to other worlds. Like, how likely is it we're still going to be alive when we get there? You know, like, or we could just like make ourselves way fucking better so that the little time we have left on this planet is totally fucking awesome.
Well, I do I do support the idea of exploration and discovery, but
I mean, yeah, I do too. It's cool.
It's a good, you made a good point. Like, take care of your own house.
Yeah.
Before you go out there.
Like should we care that we're destroying the earth, or should we be like, you know what? We're just now finding out we're a little bit too late to fix this. We're gonna die.
Yeah, I hope not.
So let's party it up, people. Like,
yeah, well, yeah, but maybe we can carry this kind of concept forward for the future. So, okay, maybe.
What if it is too late? Oh, that's a whole other episode.
Well, if it is, like, okay, we destroy the current world. I would argue we've done that many times before, or
probably
other forces have done that, and we've experienced it as human-esque beings on planet.
Or that's just the loop of time. We're going in and out of white and black holes.
Life is kind of cyclical, and that's important to understand.
It's just shit that happens every 16.723 trillion years.
Well,
everybody knows that.
That's very specific for such a broad time frame. But then there's like sub-cycles too. So actually I just watched a video about that.
Oh,
I should share that.
This is like just the right amount of beer to crack into the multiverse.
I think we should avoid that right now, because it'd be like
we find a kitchen sink microscopy or like Zeegeil.
Yeah. I kind of want to avoid having to download and insert a Tim and Eric's awesome show where it's like, whoa, like the mind blown thing. Like, okay, let's avoid that. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. I don't know if we've just like hit the stride where like
yes,
every episode of this show just like gets way into the fucking weeds.
It definitely does. And oddly, it gets into the weeds without getting into the weed. Huh.
Well, and then there's this just like we find not only commonalities of things, but like things to dig deeper into. Like
Yes.
further into the roots of what brought those things together.
Yeah. I honestly don't think anybody else, any other two people could have crafted a better system. Yeah, we're very good at that.
Mind your God.